Welcome to Talking Science Africa, a show where we host scientists and researchers in the science space to explain to us the work that they are doing in layman's language or in a common language, and how that work is important to our lives. If you have been following us, we have been talking about a lot of public health, HIV/AIDS, air pollution, Ebola, and etc. But in today's show, we pivot to a different subject, which is cows. How healthy are our cows? How can we fight the diseases that affect our cows, and how do they affect them? Today we are pleased to host Dr. Fredrick Kabi. He's the principal investigator of the Antic vaccine, but also a principal research officer at the NARIRI, which is an institute under NARO, the National Agricultural Research Organization. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
When did the tick start knowing how to resist these acaricides?
Well, we cannot pinpoint the particular time, but as of today, the ticks are able to resist a given acaricides just within 6 to 1 year. In a period of 6 months to 1 year, the acaricides which were dying when you apply will now no longer die. So we say the ticks have now developed mechanisms of resisting the lethal, the negative effects of the chemical acaricide.
We talked about having so many different tick species in different parts of the country. Are all of them resisting acaricides?
Unfortunately, yes. The only difference is that the ticks, there are variations. Some are very highly resistant, some are not very highly resistant, but there is some level of resistance.
Let's come back to this vaccine. Explain to us, how does it work?
The vaccine, once administered to the cow, will lead to production of antibodies. And when a booster dose is given, the level of antibodies increases sharply. When the tick comes to drink or to suckle that blood, it has antibodies. The antibodies will interfere with the feeding. They will interfere with growth. Those antibodies will interfere with reproduction. And those antibodies will interfere with the immunity of they will interfere with the immunity of the tick. And therefore, the tick will become unfit. Definitely, it will die. Only that it does not die immediately, but it will die.
So if it sucks the cattle which has been vaccinated, it will not even have energy to move and suck another one.
No, it will not be able to suck another one. That animal which it has sucked will be the last. It may be still, you may get it still attached on the cow, but within a short time to drop off, and once it drops off, that will be the end of it. It will die, or it will not be able to grow from one stage to another, or it will not be able to reproduce. So that generation will go.
So let's talk about the use of this vaccine. Tell us, how are people supposed to use it?
First and foremost, a vaccine is a classified drug. In other words, it is supposed to be used by trained people. And the people who are trained to do that are veterinarians and para-veterinarians. So, the veterinarians are the ones who will administer the vaccine. And they give, when they give this vaccine to the animal, they give it in a first dose. After 30 days, they come and do a booster. They will do another booster after 180 days.
180 days, those are 6
Which
months.
6 months.
So if I vaccinate my cow now, after one month,
or 30 days, we'll come and give a booster.
a booster dose.
Yes, then you continue counting.
After 6 months,
Again, you'll come and give a booster dose.
another booster dose.
Yes, that is within the first year.
Is within the first year.
Yes, but in the following years, you will be able to you'll be able to manage this through every 6 months. That is as of today. But more work is still continuing because the research never stops, and we hope that the vaccine can be improved so that we can be able to give once a day. But that is the future. Yes.
Looking at the fact that we have more than 14 million cows in Uganda, across all parts of Uganda. Wherever you go, you are going to find cows. And they have said ticks are also everywhere. Does that mean that for this vaccine to be effective, all those 14 million cows and goats and sheep will have to be vaccinated?
Well, we have to start somewhere. I don't know how long it will take us to vaccinate all the national herd, but we shall start somewhere. The good thing is that one, we know what we want. We have to vaccinate the whole herd. Two, government has recruited and deployed veterinary officers in every district. So that is where to start from. Secondly, government is continuing to put in place vaccine storage facilities in all the districts. But it has started with the districts where we have many cattle, what we call the cattle corridor. Okay, so this will continue, and eventually the whole country will be covered.
So you are meaning that I cannot come here and buy a vaccine, put it in my pocket and go and vaccinate my cows like the next day?
If you do that, you'll have misused the vaccine. One, because a vaccine has to be transported and kept under a cold chain. That's why I was telling you that government is putting up vaccine storage facilities at the district headquarters of every district, as long as they are a cattle keeping district. That's one. Two, government is ensuring that we have adequate vaccines produced here. And even then, government will make efforts to even increase the number of vaccines and the amount of vaccines which will be produced possibly next year or so that we can have enough vaccine to cover the whole herd, to cover sheep, goats, and cattle.
And those may be like 40 million plus. If you have 14 million cows and you have 17 million goats, that's already like 35, 36. If you add the sheep, it may reach 40 million plus. So it looks like the technicalities of access is still an issue.
No. Government has a way it wants an organized way of accessing the vaccine. Imagine if all cattle keepers came to Nachesasa to get a vaccine. It would be chaos. But once the vaccine is placed at the district headquarters, then a person in Rukunjiri can access the vaccine. A person in Moroto can access the vaccine. A person in Gulu or Kitgum will access a vaccine. And it will be easy. So, the decentralized approach is the best.
Still on the effectiveness of this vaccine. Let's say you have a farm. My farm is next to your farm. I have vaccinated my cows for bots and etc. And you have not vaccinated yours. How effective is this vaccine going to be for me, the person has vaccinated my cattle? Won't ticks come from my friend's farm affect my cattle?
Ticks have no borders. So they can cross into anywhere and they can move from one place to another. However, we encourage that for good management practices, the farmer should ensure that his farm is fenced, and he doesn't allow his animals either to come in, new animals to come in without his permission. So no new animals should come in. Even his animals should not be allowed to leave the farm unless they are going for slaughter. That is, they have been sold and they are going for slaughter. Or if they have been sold to a new farmer who is going to start farming. So those movements are part of good livestock management practices. Keep your animals on your farm and within your farm. Don't allow your animals to leave the farm because they will come back with the disease. Don't allow new animals to come and mix with your animal. So that is the management practice which all farmers know. It is not because of ticks and anti-tick vaccine. No, it is a management practice which all farmers know and will ensure that this is managed well.
Doctor, in reality, you know the reality saying. If you got Karamoja, it is still zero grazing. People don't have first farms. If you go,
it is open grazing.
Open grazing, yeah, it is open grazing. When you go to parts of Western Uganda, it's still open grazing. Around the cattle corridor, you see, it's still open grazing, master. So that would mean that if you got Karamoja, for this vaccine to be effective, you have to vaccinate all the cows in Karamoja, the goats and sheep. Is this going to be the strategy?
That is the strategy. However, you cannot do that in one day. So, piecemeal, we shall move step by step. Once we are able to vaccinate a population, a cattle population of about 70, then we are good to go. Because the vaccine has a very high level of effectiveness, it will still work. But we encourage, as technical people, that all the farms, all the animals are vaccinated. But it cannot be done in one day. But with the time, possibly by the third year, we shall have vaccinated all the animals in Uganda. Although, if we don't stop, we still continue vaccinating. The biggest challenge, not even the biggest, the biggest challenge would be us to get worried of wildlife. Because in some places, there are wildlife game parks. And those game parks, people go and graze there, which is not a good practice. So we shall try to educate farmers to limit access to the wildlife parks. because those ones have a lot of ticks. Otherwise, for the farmer, for your farmer who is your neighbor, it would be good that once we vaccinate your animal, we also encourage the farmer, the neighbor, to vaccinate. And that will help us in controlling the disease, the ticks.
I'm still trying to understand this. You said that if after vaccinating a cow, if a tick comes and
bites it,
that tick dies. So
that tick will begin to deteriorate and eventually die. And it does not die immediately.
Yeah. I'm going to use that example again that I had already used before that. I have a farm I have vaccinated. You have a farm you have not vaccinated. So my imagination is that ticks that come from my neighbor's farm, if they bite my cow, they continue to die. Can't my neighbor also benefit from that I have vaccinated and they have not vaccinated?
Your farmer, your neighbor who has not vaccinated benefits, because there will no longer be ticks which will come from your farm to go to his farm. Okay? But the districts have now brought, they now have the ability to make bylaws. And those bylaws are that once the vaccination exercise begins, all animals within a given sub-county, all animals within a given district must be vaccinated. So today, we might be vaccinating at your farm. After 2 to 3 days, we shall go and vaccinate your neighbor. So it will also be covered. And that will be to your advantage. And also to his advantage, because when you vaccinate, ticks cannot move from your place to go and bite his animals, and vice versa. So, today, we shall vaccinate for you. After 2 or 3 days, we shall vaccinate for your neighbor. So the neighbor will also like and benefit from the exercise. But this exercise is we shall go step by step and ensure that all animals in the country are vaccinated.
If there are going to be bylaws which says that cows or goats and sheep in a certain area must be vaccinated during the same period, we also know that this vaccine has cost implications. It's not for free. People have to buy it. Is this vaccine affordable?
The vaccine is very, very affordable.
How much is it?
Because if you have a cow, the lowest cost of a cow might be like 3 million. But if you give it 3 doses of the vaccine, and the vaccine will be like 5,000, that is just 15,000 Ugandan shilling. You can't compare it with the 3 million, which you can use, which you need to spend to buy a cow, moreover of local species, maybe local breed. A local breed can be a Zebu, a Nganda, can be an Ankole cow, and an Nkoromojo. Those ones are about 3 million. But these exotic ones, they're about 10 million. So, still if you give it just 3 or 4 injections, it is affordable and far, far cheaper. You just have to sell 1 liter of milk or 2 liters of milk, and you'll be able to vaccinate your cows. So there's no saying that the vaccine is expensive. It isn't.
So my grandfather has cows, and I grew up seeing him administer injections out. So I think that that's a very, very simple thing for people to do. Why is it that this vaccine, as you say, must be administered by a trained veterinary person?
One, this is the medicines which are administered by trained personnel is to avoid misuse of the medicine or poor administration of the medicine, which can lead to the death of the cow, or it can also lead to bacterial resistance. So, there is a law, the National Drug national drug law, which enforces the use of these drugs to be administered by qualified health practitioners. It cannot be administered by anybody, and it is illegal for anybody to administer a drug either in human beings or animals if he is not qualified.
So it's also going to be illegal for a person to administer this vaccine if they are not qualified.
Yeah, it is illegal. Don't say it is going to be. It is already illegal because the law is there. It has been enforced. And they are even putting more and more strict rules to ensure that only technical people administer the vaccine or any drug.
So does that mean when a drug is to be picked from a storage facility at the district level that will be set up, will it be picked by a trained person? Will it be picked by anyone who is buying it? How is the process going to be?
The farmer will only register and make payments to the bank. So there is no medicine which will be given to a non-trained person. There is no vaccine which should be given to a non-trained person. Presently, we have a vaccine for foot and mouth disease, and people are paying, and it is being managed by qualified personnel.
Doesn't this still make the cost of this vaccine a bit higher? Because the farmer will have to pay this veterinary doctor to go and administer this vaccine.
There is what we call treatment failure or vaccination failure. And this is mainly due to this vaccination being carried out by non-qualified people. If the vaccine is done by non-qualified people and you end up with a vaccination failure, you lose the animal. So that will make the whole process very, very, very expensive. But a doctor, first of all, most of them are being paid by their employer. Now, for you, you just facilitate the doctor to go and treat your animal or to go and vaccinate your animal. And it is not expensive, per se, compared to the value of the animal. Yeah.
How are you dealing with the issue of communicating this information, the people who must reach it? Because we have seen that people tend to doubt a lot of vaccines. Vaccines produced for human beings, I've seen people doubting them. How are you ensuring that the right information reaches all Ugandans?
As the researchers, we are going to do, and we have started doing, sensitization of all veterinarians, both in private sector and government sector. And then we go to the districts. We teach them how the vaccine works and how it is administered. And we even take a step further to ensure that we demonstrate at a farm of about 100 cows so that people can see and practice and learn how to administer the vaccine. Remember, we are training or sensitizing people who are already qualified. That's one. Two, we are also in the process of training farmers so that farmers can understand the reason why this vaccine is administered by a qualified doctor. You get it? So, in all ways, the farmer will understand, the other stakeholders will understand. And if you get the vaccine being administered by an untrained person, then the person must be apprehended and handed over to the authorities for punishment. And we have the National Drug Authority, which is currently responsible for ensuring that the drugs are not misused.
One other interesting thing is that when you talk to ordinary people, they say if this powerful, if this powerful vaccine can kill a tick, how about me, a human being? I have vaccinated my cows. After 2 weeks, I want to slaughter one of them. Can't this drug affect my health or the health of the people who are going to eat that cow?
First and foremost, the drug is targeting ticks because ticks feed on blood. While a human being, an animal is slaughtered. After being slaughtered, you go and wash it. You wash your meat, you clean it. Then you cook it. Cooking meat can take like 1 hour. So, you'll have deactivated all those things which were used to kill the tick. Secondly, you have a very powerful digestive system. When you eat anything, it is digested using enzymes and using at different levels of pH. So, for you, the antibodies which kill the tick cannot kill a human being. They will have no effect. In any case, by the time you eat the meat, they will have lost out because these, when they are outside the animal body, they cannot survive. They cannot be viable. They will get denatured. The word we use in science is denatured.
You talked about slaughtering a cow, washing the meat, cooking it. But I know people who eat fresh meat. I have friends, they think the Eritreans somehow eat fresh meat. I have sat with an Eritrean friend here in Kampala who was eating fresh meat.
The fresh meat eaten by the people, first of all, it is not part of our culture in Uganda. Meat must be cooked. But even then, the enzymes present in the body will break down the antibodies which affected the ticks. So still, the antibodies will not affect a human being. Because, as I told you, the pH in your stomach, in your gastrointestinal, your alimentary canal is so powerful. It will denature it will break down the antibodies. Remember, those are antibodies. They are not anything. And they are very fragile. But they are only active when they are in blood. Once they are out of blood, then they will be denatured.
Have you done tests and research to confirm this, that this drug has no effect on human beings? Because human beings are very concerned.
First of all, the research we did included the safety of the vaccine. That vaccine must be kept at 4 degrees centigrade to 8 degrees centigrade. So beyond that, it is denatured and will not be able to do anything. It will become inert.
Ineffective.
Inert, not active. It will not be active. So, the conditions which we are talking about, first of all, the vaccine will have been inactivated. However, we even hired a company called Lancet Laboratories International to do for us studies to see if this vaccine can be harmful to the farmer, to the consumer. And indeed, it was discovered that the vaccine will be broken down even before you consume it. So, the vaccine to be viable, again, you keep it at 4 degrees to 8 degrees. And all the food we eat is at room temperature or above room temperature. We don't eat cold things. So there is no way the vaccine can affect humans. Secondly, the quantities we vaccinate the cow, quantity. We give this cow 1 meal, and that 1 meal contains 100 micrograms. That is 1 out of 100 of a gram. So the quantity is very little. It cannot even be detected. Even when you go to the animal and you pick a blood sample, you'll not be able to pick the vaccine there, because the quantities will be traces for the vaccine.
We have been talking about Uganda, but I assume that sub-Saharan Africa has the same issue, the same challenge of ticks. Is this the first anti-tick vaccine to be developed in Africa?
Yeah, this is the first anti-tick vaccine to be developed in Africa. And all those countries which have ticks which are similar to the ticks which are in Uganda may be able to benefit from the vaccine.
Have you tested this to know that actually if this vaccine produced in Uganda, it can be effective in Kenya, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon? Have you done that research?
What we need to do is to go back and do literature review. What are the ticks which are in Kenya? What are the ticks which are in Rwanda? Which are the ticks which are in Congo? Because all this science has been documented, and the nomenclature is the same. Just like if you have a human being in Uganda, is a similar human being in Kenya, is an African. So, because of that, we know that the ticks can be affected by the vaccine wherever they are, as long as they are the same species with those ones in Uganda.
When do we hope to see this vaccine exported to different countries?
Yes, that is something to think about very greatly. Why? Because we must satisfy the internal market. And that, as I told you, will take possibly another 5 years for us to satisfy the internal market before we can think of exporting. So, there are conditions which government may give, and that is one of them. Have you satisfied the internal conditions? After I have satisfied the internal conditions, that's when you can think of exporting. Yeah. So it is not me to determine how soon we shall export the vaccine, but it is the conditions in the country. Have the Ugandans, are they satisfied before we can begin taking the vaccine outside? Remember that in Uganda, we make losses. So if the vaccine is able to save us from those losses, then we don't need to export it maybe to get foreign exchange or whatever. We don't need to export it. We just need to handle our animals and we reduce the losses. And then our farmers will be able to pay taxes, free will, without any problem, freely.
Doctor, we have talked about satisfying the demand internally. We said there are more than 14 million cows in Uganda, more than 17 million goats and sheep, whose number I don't know. If all these people, one day, like 2 months from now, turn up and say, we are ready, want the vaccine, we have the money, can you produce it and distribute it to them?
First and foremost, as we talk now, all the farmers in this country are ready to have the vaccine and are asking for it. So the farmers are ready. Why? Because they want to control ticks. There is no suitable or appropriate or efficacious product which is better than a vaccine. So the farmers want a vaccine. The facility is able to produce 36 million doses per annum. But as we continue and our engineers get used to the vaccine, the machines, we should be able even to produce that.
So that means that
36 million doses per annum.
That's 3 million doses per month.
Yes.
Where did you import these machines from?
These machines have been imported from Europe, from China, and all those kind of things.
And assembled here.
Yes.
The other thing that people would want to know about is, does this vaccine have some side effects? Or if I vaccinate my cow, how sure am I that it will not result into it will not affect my cows in a different way?
When you are developing a vaccine, there are standard steps you go through. First and foremost, for us to have a product as of today, which we are going to put on the market, we have taken 13 years. We have taken 13 years. Why? Because there are standard steps you have to go through. First and foremost, your concept is reviewed internally by a scientific committee. There is all national agricultural research institutes have scientific committees, science committees. They have to review to see that you're using the best approaches and the product you want to use does not have any associated literature of toxicity. That's one. Two, when you are starting your research, your research has to be approved by an institutional animal care and use committee. In other words, there is a committee which cares about the welfare of animals. So before you even start trying out this vaccine or this product, there is a committee which must ensure that you are taking into consideration the welfare of your patients. And our patients are the cows, sheep, and goat. Then there is another committee which is called the National Biosafety Committee. That is the committee which checks the safety of your processes, the safety of the product to the animal. Is it safe? The safety of your product to the consumer. The safety of the product to the doctor who is going to administer. In other words, you must achieve a 360 safety check of the vaccine or the product. After that, the product must be examined by the National Drug Authority. Does it have any positive effect? It have. The other time we were checking for negative effects, but now we are also checking for positive effects. Your product must have a competitive advantage over the products on market. If it is less, if it is inferior to the products on market, then you don't even have to. You don't even have to continue with your research. So our product passed all those tests. The science, the science test is number one. Animal welfare test is number two. National biosafety, it must be safe to the end user. The end user, the consumer, and the environment. It must be safe to be used in the environment. It must be safe to be used by a qualified person. It must be safe to the animal. It must be safe to the final consumer of the animal, because you are working with the food animals. And also, it must be having some competitive advantage to the products which are already on market. Our product achieved an efficacy of 93%. So that means if you use the product, it is 93% more effective than what is on market. So that is why it has been allowed to be manufactured. It has a very high level of effectiveness. If you only give it once, you are assured of a 93% effectiveness. So once you give a booster dose, you have doubled the effectiveness. And therefore, you can be able to control ticks to a less harmful level. This product must not be injurious to any other organism. So this vaccine only affects ticks because the ticks suck blood, and they suck it in large quantity, and they drink it. They take the blood raw. They don't cook it like us.
And they don't take anything else apart from
And they don't take anything else apart from that. Okay? So those are the levels we go through. Those mechanisms are in this country, and they are passed by acts of parliament. So it is not just something you can go and negotiate or bribe. Because after all, if this product today turned out to be dangerous, it will be retrieved from the market, and the researchers will be penalized. So who wants to be penalized? No. Is it me? Is it anybody in this institute? So nobody wants to be penalized. That is why this product has taken a long time for it to be developed. That is why this product is having a lot of demand in the field. We started doing this work in around 2014, and we were able to say now we can be able to access market. We have not even reached the level of accessing market as of today, but we have been considered to access the market. That's why the president came to launch it, and that is 2026. So you can calculate the years.
Thank you, Doctor. It has been a big pleasure talking to you, learning from you. As you said, research always continues, and we'll keep very close to you to always get updates of the new developments, especially do with this vaccine and other such projects that you are working on. Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you too. Thank you for accepting to come and discuss science with me. It is not easy, but thank you so much, and hopefully you will come back when we have gotten another vaccine which we can discuss.
Every time that you have a new development, I'll be coming back. Talk to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.